I was asked a question about how to set up to do a rabbet joint. And the fellow that asked the question, doggone it, I should have written down his name. Anyway, he's promised to do a video, or he's said he would do a video on his setup. And so I'll do mine, and we'll kind of compare notes, and maybe we'll learn something from each other. But this is the way I do a rabbet down the edge of a board and across the end. This would be useful for picture frames, mirror frames, making door jambs, window jambs. It would be useful for rabbeting the edge of your cabinet sides to accept a cabinet back. So there's a lot of uses for a rabbet. So let's make one down the edge of this board. So the first thing I do is let me zoom in on the saw a little bit. Okay, it'll be a little bit out of the picture for now, but first thing we have to do is we have to turn the motor around. Loosen the yoke. We're going to turn it around to the in-rip position. All right. Always remember to tighten the yoke again when you're finished. Now we're going to slide it back into the fence. I did a previous video on this, so there's already a cutout in the fence back here. There's already a cutout, so I don't have to go that. And because I already did the video, the depth is already set for the depth of the rabbet, so I don't have to do that. The first video didn't turn out too good. The batteries went dead on my Tascam, and so I had no audio. So now all we have to do is we'll lock the yoke. We need to be over about a 1/2 inch, but we want to be less than a 1/2 inch because we want to sneak up on our measurement. So there's that. Now I know the depth is good, so I can reset the. We want this to just rub right there, just barely rub. We don't want any pressure on it, but we want it to be right there. Okay. Now come around to the other side, and we've got the guard adjusted to where it goes. Now we can slide this up, the hold down, as close to that blade as the blade guard will allow. Okay, we can't get any closer than that, but the closer you can get to the blade, the sooner this board is going to come in contact with it, and the more satisfactory your rabbet is going to be. Okay, now push the board underneath. At first I thought gentle pressure down on this hold down was the way to go. Now I'm convinced that good, firm, hard pressure. It still moves. Oh, what's the matter with this thing? Well, that isn't working too good. This thing is not holding down the way I want it at all. Oh, my clamp is not tight. Okay, now we get it. Let's try it again. Yeah. Now, good firm pressure down. And actually, yeah, good firm pressure. Actually, I can go a little further, a little closer with this. For me, every little bit helps, I think. Another 1/2 inch closer. Loosen, push down tight, tighten the wing nuts. Now some guy could come up with better knobs, I suppose, than these wing nuts. Now that's held down good and tight. The front edge and the back edge of my hold down is tapered just a little bit to make this board slip under without catching on a square edge. I think you understand what I'm talking about. Now the next thing is the board has to be held tight to the fence. So that means we have to use the feather boards. Now the feather board has to be, you can't be near the blade. I mean, it can't be over the blade. It can be near it, but it can't be over it. If it's over it, that thing is going to bind. Okay, so that one's good and tight. A tightening stick. And push it over. Push it over good and tight. Now this board is held tight to the fence. The hold down will hold it tight to the table, and we should get a pretty good deal. I'm ahead of myself. So let me loosen this up and pull it out of the way a little bit. We have to get the right depth. Okay, so we'll make some trial cuts. Okay, there's the trial cut, and I've got a piece of half-inch wafer board here, or board, so let's see how close we came. As you can see, possibly see, we lack about a 1/16 of an inch, a little less than a 1/16 of width. So that means I have to move the motor away from the fence a little less than a 1/16. Delicately tighten it. Try it again. That should do the trick. Looks like we got it. Okay. Yeah. Oh my gosh, yes, that's right on the money. Yeah, it's flush. So now I'll use the brake. There's a lot of momentum in those dado blades because they're heavy, and so they don't stop very quickly. Okay, there's that. Now I'll put some pretty good pressure on that as we tighten. Now, good hold down, good hold in. We should come up. Let me get rid of any extra things. It's just not good practice to have coffee cups, ashtrays, and extra boards and such on the table. Now I got a little pusher stick right here. Now you should push down and in with your push stick. There you go. Let me look over here, and the board is still in contact with the fence on the other end. So we should have a darn good rabbit going here. Oops. Wrong edge of that board. Okay, perfectly flush right there. Perfectly flush. And perfectly flush that way. So we have a 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch rabbit. It's probably not 1/2 inch because they started with this metric crap a few years ago. And so they call it 1/2 inch, but it's never 1/2 inch anymore. So that's why you have to sneak up on everything. You can't just measure it. You have to actually, well, you probably had to do that with plywood anyway. So now we're going to put a rabbit across the end. I already tried another method, and I didn't like it. It didn't come out satisfactory. It didn't seem safe, and I won't do it that way again. What I did is I took a square block of wood, like a square block like this. Are we in Are we in camera? No, we're not in camera. I took a square block of wood like this, and then lined it up on, and then tried to push it through this way. That way I wouldn't have to change the setup. I'd be all set for a rabbit across the end. Well, no, it just didn't work satisfactory. So if you have to put a rabbit across the end of a short board, you may as well just flip it back around to the cross-cut position and give yourself, it's going to come out more satisfactory. It's going to be safer. It's just better all the way around. Where's my lever? Okay, give that a little jiggle. Make sure you always tighten the yoke. Then get the now we got the right height. Now we just cut a notch out here for the dado blade for the rip cut, and we've just cut a great big huge notch in it here in the fence for a cross cut, right? Well, that's the nature of radial arm saws, is that the fence is expendable. I can probably flip this over and use the other side of it. If not, well, I'll make a new one. That's pretty cheap. So now we're going to do we've already got the height, and if you've got your table set up right, it should make a rabbit across the end here that is the same depth as this. If you did your setup right when you initially tuned up your saw, everything should be beautiful. Now I've got a 5/8 dado set in there, and so this cut through the fence is exactly 5/8 of an inch. So if I only want a 1/2 inch, I'm going to have to hold that back about an 1/8 inch. I'm going to hold it back a little bit more than an 1/8 inch for the first cut. All right. Now I'm going to test and see how close we are. And I am about, oh my gosh, a 64th of an inch off. Not much. There's a lot of momentum in those blades, so if you got a break, you need to use it. So now pull the blade out, slide the piece that you've just cut up to the blade, and then it's very hard to move it just a little bit. Move it just a pinch. It slipped on me. Okay, let's try it again. If you were doing a bunch of cuts, if you had multiple boards to do, you'd obviously put a stop on there. Okay, that is perfectly flush. Okay, we got it. So now, if you're doing multiple boards, and this came out right in here, they're the same height. So, and that's what we were after. So, if you're doing multiple cuts now, you would slide this into the blade, and then put a stop on. Well, if I had a stick, put a stop on from this side over here that would slide underneath and touch the board and clamp it over in here. And of course, you do one more test cut to make sure your stop is in the right place, and then you do the remainder of your multiple cuts. So that's all there is to it. Rabbit across the end, rabbit across the length, everything perfectly safe. This, as you can see, this Freud blade makes a very clean cut. There's no splintering on that, and that's one across the grain. There's no splintering, and if you look down the long grain, no splintering there either. I love this forest not Forrest, Freud dado head. If I'd have done anything different, I'd have spent the extra money and got the 8-inch, because there's a limit to how high your fence can be, how thick your, well, 8-inch, that extra 8-inch would give you another inch of clearance underneath this motor, between the motor and the table, and that'd be worth $50 to me, and I don't even know if it costs $50. So anyway, I hope the video was informative, and maybe we both learned something. Thanks for watching.